Next guest speaker, Dr. Crystal. So, Dr. Crystal is a mindset coach and an entrepreneur. She runs her own mindset coaching business and an online training program called Awaken Academy. All her life, she wanted to become a doctor. Until stepping into the role, she realized it was no longer her passion. She eventually found her life's calling in her present role. Dr. Crystal helped young professionals suffering from burnout come out from stagnation and a sense of loss. Her programs help them to gain clarity for their purpose in life and be transformed into their 2.0 self and help their dreams come true. Dr. Crystal was a house officer at the Sedang Hospital and has published several articles on healthcare. She obtained her MBBS degree from the University of Malaya. Dr. Crystal is also a mobile app designer and front-end web developer for the Hello Plus at UM telemedicine app for the University of Malaya to manage patients remotely. She has also been a medical intern in a law firm assessing medical legal cases. So now Dr. Crystal will be speaking to us on steps to take when you realize medicine is no longer your passion. Pass it to you, Dr. Crystal.
Right, thanks, Desmond. Thanks for the extensive, generous introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And also thank you to Dr. Selina and also all the team from Medic Footprints for giving me this opportunity to give this presentation for today. And also I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Zuhairi as well for his very inspiring story. And this just goes to show that even though you're a doctor is beyond just reading about thick medical books about diseases and treating patients in the hospital. If you want to do something else outside of the medical field, you can still excel if you put your mind to it. Okay, hopefully you guys are still awake. I understand it's close to lunchtime and it's a weekend. So I'll try to make this presentation as concise within the allocated time. So my topic for today is steps to take when you realize medicine is no longer your passion. A little brief introduction about myself. My name is Crystal. I'm a medical graduate from University of Malaya, and I was a houseman in Hospital Serdang. But after 8 months of housemanship, I realized that medicine is no longer my passion, as the title implies, and so I decided to resign. And currently, I'm starting my own mindset coaching business called Awaken Academy. So just to share briefly about my story and how I got into medicine in the first place. So this is a picture of me and my brother in 2002. So ever since I was little, I've always wanted to become a doctor. It has always been my dream. I think part of it was because I was just naturally curious. I love to learn. I love to read, write, explore, experience many different new things. And I also happen to be very studious in school, and I did well academically. And I like to tell this joke because people usually say, if you do well in school, they would suggest you to be either 4 things when you grow up. You could either be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or a disgrace to the family. So I chose the pathway of becoming a doctor because I love studying about biology and I was very curious about how our human body works. I wasn't really into maths, physics, all the technology stuff. And also I like the idea of being able to create an impact in someone else's life and restoring them back to health. So I worked very hard towards that goal of becoming a doctor. And then finally, in 2015, I got accepted to do my medical degree in University of Malaya. And the whole 5 years of medical school was very transformative for me because I learned so much, not only about medicine itself per se, but I learned so much about myself as well. What I enjoy, what are my strengths, weaknesses. I made a lot of great friends and I enjoyed learning from my peers, my lecturers, and also my patients and the problems that they are facing. And after 5 years of medical school, finally I graduated with a medical degree in 2019. And then 2 years later, I got called to do my housemanship in Hospital Serdang. And this was the moment that I've been waiting for my whole life. I've been working towards this specific goal for the last 10 to 15 years to finally become a doctor and to be able to apply my medical knowledge into the clinical field. The first few weeks was a breeze for me, to be honest, during housemanship. I was very determined to be of service to my patients, to my colleagues. I try to adapt as quick as I can, learn as much as I can within a very short amount of time in a very hectic of working environment. But I think after about towards the third to fourth month of housemanship, I suddenly fell into a deep burnout and also sleep deprivation. I think the sleep deprivation really got me. And I started questioning myself, is this the kind of life that I've been setting myself up for the next 30 to 40 years of my life until I retire? Is this how my life will be? You know, the very restrictive lifestyle, the long working hours, heavy workload, the unconducive working environment. It just didn't resonate with my more free-spirited, independent, and also creative person. So I did a lot of months of inner work, inner reflection, asking myself the deep questions like, is this the right career for me? Have I made the right decision? Or is this the wrong decision? And to ask myself that question is very terrifying because I've invested so much time, money, and energy into my medical education, and to realize that I've made the wrong career choice is definitely terrifying. But then after months of just pacing back and forth, being on the fence about whether to resign from housemanship or not, I finally told myself that enough is enough. I am done living up to someone else's expectation at the cost of my own happiness. So I just had the guts to pull the trigger. I handed in my resignation notice, walked out of the hospital door, and just left the hospital for good. And after 8 months of housemanship, I finally resigned. And this is a picture of me during my last day of housemanship in Hospital Serdang. I think you can see behind the face mask, I was just smiling, and it was one of the most liberating and relieving experience of my life. And I'm also very grateful to have family members and parents who were very supportive of my decision. And now currently, I started my own mindset coaching online business, helping specifically young working adults who were once like me, who are experienced what I once experienced as well, who are burned out in a job that they don't really enjoy, who feel very lost in life, but they are very unsure or unclear about what to do because just like me back then, they don't want to waste years of study, of investment that they've put into their formal education. So I try to provide them clarity and also a guideline of what they can do to go about their midlife crisis. Also, one of the reasons why I started this academy in the first place is because after resigning from housemanship, I started uploading videos on my YouTube channel of my experience resigning from housemanship, because I realized that there's not many resources about quitting housemanship or leaving the medical field in general. Because I think that in society, we still see it as a taboo. When someone leaves the medical career, it's something that is still very frowned upon, as if that person is something less than, we attach ourselves so much, we attach so much of our identity to our career or the things that we do. And so my mission is to break that barrier and to break that stigma and to create awareness that we are more than just what we do for a living. We are more than just our job titles. So what to do when you realize medicine is no longer your passion? But before that, I'd like to ask you a question. Why are you no longer passionate in medicine? Because I think for most of us, we enter medicine from our own free will. We want to be able to be of service to others. We want to be able to create an impact in someone else's life and to know that what we do creates a difference in the world. Also, for most of us, one of the reasons why we are not passionate in medicine once we're in this medical field is because of the lifestyle, the restrictive lifestyle, the heavy workload, the long working hours. And I think this is the same for almost everyone who realized that medicine is no longer the passion. And also another reason is because most of us, we chose this medical career when we were 17 years old, right after SPM, when we We're still figuring out what to do with our lives. So we thought that a medical career would be great because of the stories that we hear. We want to be, the hero of the day. And we hear stories about the glitz and glamour of being a doctor. And I think that idea really appealed to us. But once we entered the medical field, we realized that it's not as what it seems anymore. What do you do when you realize that medicine is no longer your passion? I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that your work and life in general, it has to be aligned with who you are as a person. Because no one person is the same. Everyone is different. We all have our own innate capabilities. We all have our own natural talents, things that we are naturally inclined to. We all have different personal values. So choosing a career is not a one-size-fits-all thing. So it has to be aligned with who you are. So what does it mean who you are? How do we know who we are? So that is what I'll try to cover in my presentation today. Also, I want to make a controversial claim here by saying that your college degree doesn't have to dictate the work that you do. You are not destined for one career just because a paper tells you so. And I think that's one of the reasons why many people settle for a career for the rest of their life until they retire, even though they don't really enjoy it, because of what their college degree entails. But also not many people realize that you are free to explore, to go out and experience what you're interested in, what suits you as your person, your innate capabilities and also natural talents. And I think this is not being said enough. And so don't settle. We have to always keep on exploring, and to live a life that we don't enjoy until retire is, to me, in my opinion, is a waste. And I think we need to give ourselves permission to discover what we're passionate about and to live a life that we truly enjoy and that we won't regret it. How do you decide what to do if you're not really sure about what to do in your life? I like to give people this example. What's the difference between a job, a career, or a calling? So a job is something that pays the bill. If you're an employee, you're working in a job that you don't typically enjoy, but you do it because it pays the bill, that's a job. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have a business, but the business stresses you out, you don't really enjoy doing the business, but you do it anyway because it pays the bill, it's still a job. But if you go one step further, it's called a career. And a career is what gives you upward mobility. It gives you the ability to hone and improve your skills and the ability for you to climb up the career ladder. So examples of careers are like professions, like doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants, and so on. But where we want to be at is a calling. That's the ultimate goal that I would recommend everyone to be at. And what is a calling? A calling is something that you would still do even though you're not being paid for it, because it gives you meaning, because it's your passion. It's something that you really enjoy genuinely to do. A calling is not some external voice high up in the sky telling you about your life's mission, about your life's purpose. It's actually more of an internal voice within. It's that little whisper, that intuition that speaks to your heart, that speaks true to your soul. And this applies even if you're an entrepreneur or an employee. So the best work that we can do is something that is mission-oriented, something that is purposeful, not just merely to pay the bill or merely as a means of survival to get a paycheck every month. All right. So how do you find your calling? And I think this is one of the questions that most people would ask. So one of the ways is by implementing this principle or framework that is called Ikigai. I think some of you may have heard about this before. Ikigai is a Japanese term, which means reason for being or a sense of purpose. And Ikigai, it has 4 principles. So first is what you love to do, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. So if you can find the intersection between all of these 4 principles, then that is where the sweet spot lies. That is basically your Ikigai. All right. So what do you love to do? So what you love to do consists of your passion or your purpose. And it also consists of your personal values. And then what you are great at or what you're good at. So it consists of your strengths, your skills, your talents, and then what the world needs. So this consists of your passion or your purpose. And then lastly, what you can be paid for. So I'll explain further what each of these factors means, all right? What each of these criteria entails. So the first one is talent. So what is your talent? Your talent is something that is innate, something that has always been inside of you. It is the thing that comes naturally to you. It's easy for you, but it's hard for others. All right. So a talent is very different from skills, acquired knowledge, or interests. When it comes to skills, you can learn new things, and your interest, it will change over the course of your life. For example, when you were a child, you were interested in a specific thing, but as you grow up, you're interested in a different thing. But your talent, however, it will stay with you for the long haul because it's something that is innate with you. You just find it very seamless or very natural. So examples of talent is, are you a talker? You know, some people are just naturally talkative. So that's a talent, you know. And are you a quick learner? What activity turns you into a flow state, as if hours go by in just minutes? Do you gather lots of information before making a decision? Meaning, are you analytical? Or do you follow your gut? Meaning, are you intuitive? You know, do you listen to your gut? Do you have a great memory? Are you at ease with abstract concepts? Are you good with navigation? Or are you artistic? So these are just examples of talents that you can ask yourself. The next one is strengths. Strengths are the qualities that make you a great character and that allow you to shine in difficult situations. For example, think of a time when you were challenged and you overcame it quite successfully. Maybe it's a shining moment at work, a difficult situation in your family, or a hard time in your personal life, you know, or a moment where you volunteered, you know, in a crisis and that you overcame, you excelled, and you felt great about your accomplishments. For example, as a doctor, maybe one day when you were working in a hospital, suddenly a patient collapsed, or a patient just went berserk or uncontrollable. How did you deal in that specific situation? Were you calm? Were you poised? Were you clear-minded and were able to delegate the task among all of your colleagues in a very bold, courageous, and calm way? You know, all of those are examples of strengths. So here, the examples that I've listed are like being brave, being calm, courageous, confident, entertaining, gentle, joyful, intelligent, tolerant, trustworthy, open, and also patient. All right. So the next one is skills. Skills are the things that you love to do. Skills are something that you learn to do. It's something that is acquired, or it's something that you're competent in as a result of your experience, your education, or training. For example, maybe you're talented in communicating your ideas to other people, or just socializing with other people. So the example of skills that you might try to hone is writing or public speaking. Another example is, for example, maybe you're talented in creating stuff, discussing about ideas or building things and bringing them to life. So the examples of skill that you might try to hone is entrepreneurship, craftsmanship, inventing things, or even in sales, marketing, persuasion, influence. All right. So when it comes to skills, we often have to learn things and get out of our comfort zone to succeed. And those skills are very valuable, even if they aren't our core talents. So when it comes to skills, there's a catch. There are two types of skills. First is there are skills that you love to do, and these are what we call our star skills. And there are also skills that suck the life out of you, meaning that skills that you don't enjoy, and these are what we call the killer skills. Because even though you're good at doing something, it doesn't mean that you enjoy it, right? So the key here is to, as much as possible, disregard the can-do skills, the killer skills, the skills that you can do but you don't enjoy, and focus more on the skills that you do enjoy, your want-to skills, your star skills, right? Because we need to focus more on our strengths, the things that give us joy and meaning, instead of depleting ourselves with something that we don't enjoy. Next is values. Values are what's important to you. Values are the ones that will guide your decision. It's what you cherish about yourself and your relationship with others. It also determines who you want to be as a person. Values ensures a life of purpose. Because when your life is not aligned with your values, your life can seem as if it lacks a sense of meaning or a sense of purpose. You can have goals without values, but once you achieve those goals, it will only feel empty. So for example, your values might be friendship. So a weekend hiking trip with your best friend is always better as opposed to organizing a hiking trip without your best friend. Because what you value is having friendship, that connection with other people, having community. So how do you determine what your values are? So examples here is you can create value statements for different areas of your life. So an example that I gave here is when it comes to work, you can create a value statement like this. I want to do work in a job that allows freedom of creative expression and autonomy in decision making. So your values are freedom of creative expression and autonomy in decision making. So how can you live a life that is aligned to these values? How can you do more of these values? Or for example, when it comes to relationship, your value statement might be, I want to be in a relationship with open communication and mutual support. So your value is open communication and mutual support. So how can you live a life that is in line with these values? All right. So you can create value statements in other areas of your life, for example, like in your health and fitness, personal finance, your career, spirituality, your character, and so on. The shoulds trap. So what is this? What does this mean? As you ponder your values, you undoubtedly will enter the realm of the shoulds. And shoulds usually comes from social conditioning. It's because of the way that we socialize with our friends, our family members, our colleagues, the people we surround ourselves with, our culture. And these are the statements about what's good and bad, what's right and wrong. So there are three categories of shoulds. The first one is having shoulds. For example, you need to have a specific career with a specific amount of money, or you need to have a job title, or you need to have this degree. So the second one is doing shoulds. For example, I need to climb up the career ladder. I need to have this certification. I need to have this X amount of money. Or being shoulds. So being shoulds is, for example, I need to be more accommodating. I need to be loud. I need to be perfect. I need to be charming or smart and so on. All right. Even though they may not really resonate with us or they are not in line with who we are as a person. But these are just examples of the shoulds, the shoulds trap. Shoulds also come in the have to and the must variety. For example, you must work as a doctor until you retire because you have a medical degree. And this is something that I resonate with a lot, because when I was deciding to resign from housemanship, I had a lot of criticism or judgments about this. People saying that I've wasted years of study and months of working as a housemanship, or you have to finish housemanship first, then you can pursue your dream life, right? So these are just varieties of the shoe strap. The thing is, you may know what your values are or how you want to live them. We all have our values, something that we find very valuable or meaningful, and that acts as a principle that govern our life. But we still might not be doing them because you are caught up in the tyranny of the shoulds. Like deep inside, we know that we want to live a life that is full of passion and be able to do something that we love. But because we have a certain degree, or because of what society tells us that we should value, we might not be doing what we think is right for us, because we are trapped in the tyranny of the shoulds. And most of the time, it's the people that we care, love, respect, and admire the most are the ones that have the most confining should-based advice. Our families, community, or society. But the most insidious of the shoulds is our own. It's our own story, or the things that we tell ourselves, our own fears, limiting beliefs, our own traumas or unhealed wounds. We tell ourselves that we can't do something because we're not good enough, or we're not smart enough because we don't have this certification, And one of the reasons is because of the way we are socialized. We have all these ideas about the right way to act, dress, work, express our feelings, and have fun. These are all social conditionings, the way that we've been programmed since we were born about how to live in an acceptable and appropriate way in society. So we should be aware not to fall into this trap if we really want to live a life that is aligned to our values. So the next one is passion and purpose. So what is your passion? When we talk about passion, we usually refer to something that we love doing, something that we enjoy, something that we are excited to wake up to every morning, what fascinates us, what fulfills us. But I was very surprised when I found out the root word of passion. Actually, passion comes from the root word pati, which is a Latin word. And pati means to suffer. It means suffering. So passion originally comes from the meaning to suffer. It's very interesting. But over time, the meaning has evolved from suffering to love. Now we know passion as something that we love doing, something that we enjoy or that we are passionate about. So these two different meanings of passion, suffering and love, actually gives us a clue to where our purpose lies. So when we combine these two different meanings of purpose or passion, suffering and love, we can say that our purpose is to help others who are currently going through the pain that we've once experienced in the past and that we have healed from. Because we've gone through that pain, we know what it feels like, we've suffered through it, and then now we've healed from it. We've dealt with it, we've gone through the whole process. So we use that pain as our passion or as our purpose to help others who are also going through the pain that we once experienced. And we do it out of love because we know how painful it is and we know how it feels like. And we want to help others going through the same pain as well. So we change our pain into purpose. We transform our pain into our passion project. All right? So now, you realize that medicine is no longer your passion. And we've also identified the 5 key factors. That is 5 key factors about who you are and what you can do. You've identified your talents, your strengths, your values, passion, and also skills. So now what can we do? What work can we do that is aligned to all of these 5 factors? What is our ideal career or the career that suits us once we realize that medicine is no longer our passion? So this is an example that you can do. So this is my example actually. So just to give you as a reference. So we've identified the strengths, talents, skills, values, passion. Okay. So my talent, for example, is I'm a quick learner. I'm talented in supporting others and I have good critical thinking. And then my strengths are patience, openness, and also confidence. My skills are writing, teaching, facilitating, and communication. And then my values are community, connection, contribution, creativity, and also compassion. And then my passion is teaching and inspiring others to live a life true to them and not feel stuck because of fear and social conditioning. So I turn the pain point that I've experienced during housemanship and after resigning from housemanship into my purpose. So my purpose is to help others who are also going through the same thing so that they can deal with it and navigate around it in a more clear manner. So after you've identified all of these 5 factors, what can you do? And lastly, can it be paid? Because we also want to be practical. We still need to cover our basic needs. We still need to pay the bills. So we need to make sure that what we do, our career or the work that we do, has to also be able to support us financially. But it shouldn't be the sole driver or the main reason why we chose this specific job or career. All right. So that's why I don't really emphasize in this presentation, but it's also very important to take note. So what can you do? So examples of the things that I can do that is aligned to all of these 5 factors is to be a coach, a teacher, a lecturer, a facilitator, entrepreneur, activist, an author, or I can do charity or volunteer or be a healer, etc. So as you can see, there's a wide range of work that you can do that is aligned to all of these 5 factors. All right. So even though they seem very different from one another, but they are very similar in terms of their fundamental factor or the fundamental principle. And they are all aligned to all of the 5 factors that resonates with who you are as a person. So some of you might be wondering or might be asking, what if I don't know what I love? What if I don't know what my passion is? What if I'm still clueless about my skills or what to do with my life? And according to this book, it says that one of the ways for us to discover our life's mission or purpose is to just go out and explore. That is the only way, because action creates clarity. And in order to be clear about what it is that we're good at, what is our passion, what is our purpose, we cannot just sit around and just wait for things to happen. The only way is to go out there and explore and investigate for yourself what it is that you're good at, And one of the first way that I'd recommend for you to start is by starting with what you're curious in. Start with your curiosity. What are you interested in? What are you curious about? And just start there. You can join an online course, go for classes, join clubs that is related to the things that you're interested in, or do internships, and shadow people who are doing the things that you want to do. Read books about career development, listen to podcasts. There are so many ways for us to discover what our purpose is. And in that process, once we gain more skills, gain more knowledge, we will fall in love with what we're doing. And in that process, we will also discover what our passion is and what is our mission in life. So the only thing is to go out there and explore. And as Dr. Zuhairi said, to just start. Nike also says, just do it. And that's the only way for us to discover. So yeah, I guess that's all for my presentation. It's a very short and brief one. Thank you for listening. So if you have any questions, anything that you're still very unclear of, I'm free to answer them.
Right.
So over to you, Desmond.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Crystal. Perhaps you can quit sharing screen. So yeah. All right. So thank you, Dr. Crystal, for sharing your journey on how you how you be here, where you are and what you're doing right now, as well as thanks for highlighting there's something called the sunk cost fallacy, and that's
Yes.
basically summarize what you have said. Like people
Yeah.
think that they've invested too many time and energy in these medical professions until they're too scared to take the leap of faith.
Yes.
So
Mm-mm.
yeah, and also I just have a questions, and because like you say, apart from the book that you recommend, because sometimes even me myself, I feel very clueless about people say, oh, you have to know what's your strength, what's your talent, but it's a bit hard for us to identify it. Sometimes I just hear people how they describe me, like, oh, they say, oh, because you are so talkative, because you can easily make friends with others. Then only I realize, oh, actually I am sociable. Sometimes it doesn't even cross our mind.
Yeah.
So I actually came across this some types of like personality test. Do you use it for your like Awaken Academy for your client?
Yeah, we do. We use Myers-Briggs test. I think you've heard
Ah,
about it, it's a MBTI.
yeah.
Yeah, so it gives you, it's a test about, it's a personality test basically. So you take it, it takes about 15 minutes to complete. So it gives you, after the end of the personality test, it gives you what is your personality type. But it's a good way for you to start if you're still very unsure about what it is that you're good at or what you're interested in. So it's a good way to start to become aware about yourself and to identify what are your innate capabilities or your strengths and talents. Yeah, for those of you who are not aware about it. Mm-mm.
I see. So you recommend that for those who are still very lost, they can just try to do this and get it started, and they can discover it can discover more of their other talents or strength along the way. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because because the test it also tells you about your characteristics.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so your characteristics are like what I gave examples are also your strengths. It can also be your talents as well. So you can always start there. Yeah, so start there, and then next one is to just start with what you're interested in. Actually, I think it's not something that is emphasized. I mean, it's something that is being said a lot. Follow your passion,
It's
do
true.
what you're interested in, do what you're curious about, but it's not really like really dialed into our system, about how deep that statement is.
Yes.
It's very underrated. Yeah. And also I like this quote by this author called Joseph Campbell. He made a book called Hero of a Thousand Faces. And he talked about a hero's journey. So a hero's journey is a cycle, So it's a cycle. And one of the phases in the cycle is called follow your bliss, So the starting point is you feel very lost. You don't know what to do. And the things that you're doing doesn't resonate with you. So one of the ways is to follow your bliss. So follow your bliss means to follow what you're curious about, follow your curiosity, what you're interested in, and just start there. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Crystal. All right. Any questions from the participants? Feel free to ask in the chat box, or you can raise your hand to ask Dr. Crystal if you do feel if you do have any questions from her talk. I'm sure they are still thinking about what Dr. Crystal has said. The different and I like how you explain what's the difference between jobs, career, and calling. I've heard like people differentiating jobs and career, but not another step like calling is.
Yeah.
And that's really important because, like you said, job is just whatever that pays the bill. You might, like you say, like you can do it, but maybe you don't like to do it.
Yeah. And I just think it's very unfortunate how like society normalize your work as something that is a normalized work with pain and suffering. Like people always say your work is meant to be full of pain and full of suffering. You are meant to not enjoy it because that is just how your work is or a job is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. And it's,
Yeah.
and it's not only to the healthcare industry. I believe that for people like the younger one,
Yeah, yeah.
they always like blame it on us, like, oh, you can't even take this kind of suffering, like when I was back in that days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually it doesn't only apply to healthcare system, actually it applies to any jobs or any profession.
That's true.
Yeah, across the board. Yeah, and also the fact that we are, yeah, like you said, like back in my, people always like to give the example, like back in my time I had to do this, blah blah blah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need to cut that out and not do that, because competing about our suffering and boasting about how busy we are, how much we suffer, I don't think it's a healthy way to go about it. Yeah.
Right, we have one participant here. The participant says, think that your work must be something full of suffering in order for it to be fulfilling is a dangerous, limiting belief.
Yeah, very. It is a type of belief, actually. It's a belief that has been ingrained in us by society. The thing about societal conditioning is it is so indoctrinated in us. It's been so programmed in us that we become unaware about it sometimes. We are not aware that it is just something. It's a social construct. It's man-made. We can always change it, but the thing is we're not aware of it. We're not aware that it's something that we can change. It's not something that is fixed and set in stone. Yeah, so awareness is very important, because only by being aware sorry, only by being aware then we can make necessary changes. Yeah.
Right. So, Dr. Crystal, I also have a questions. Like, I mean, I'm sure you might have some bottleneck moments when you really like whether deciding to leave or not, or do you have like those moments? And what was your biggest struggles, and what was your perhaps your internal conflicts, or do you have any most challenging time at that period of time?
Yeah. So after I graduated in 2019, uh, my waiting period before housemanship was actually about almost 2 years, actually,
Mhm.
the waiting period. So within that waiting period, I actually delved into entrepreneurship. So I started this e-commerce business with my brother. So once I was into that entrepreneurship world, I realized that it's so much different. It's such a different world compared to the little bubble of the medical field that I've been so used to, you know. And I get to be exposed to a different perspective about how life can be. I get to meet many different people from different areas who are so passionate in what they're doing, and it's just very contagious, and they really enjoy what they were doing, something that really resonated with them. And then I entered housemanship with a burning desire, actually, because this is something that I've been waiting for my whole life. But then I realized that it didn't resonate with me, because I already did entrepreneurship, so I already had a feel about what I was good at, what I enjoy doing. I was aware about my strengths and my skills and my talents. Yeah, and then once I entered housemanship, yeah, just as I mentioned, the lifestyle, the workload, the work culture, it extremely didn't resonate with who I was at my core. It wasn't in line with me, and I was very disappointed to find out that I didn't enjoy it. And yeah, I was also very frustrated. Yeah, it's basically, I think this is something that many can resonate with as well, the lifestyle, the work culture. And yeah, something that was just not in line with me. And I also fell victim to the sunk cost fallacy. Just invested so much years, time, energy, money into it, and had to face my own demons, my own fears, criticism, and setbacks. Yeah, and because I handed in my resignation, a 1 month resignation notice. So I had to work for another 1 month before finally officially resign. So during the 1 month, almost everyone in my department already knew that I handed in my resignation notice. So I had to face a lot of criticisms from my bosses, a lot of judgments, a lot of setbacks. But then deep down, I just knew that it's time to move on, and it was time for me to take that leap of faith, even though my future may be very uncertain. But it's about trusting the process and just following my bliss, basically. Practicing what I preach.
So basically, the reason, like the factor leading up to you handling your resignation is accumulative events accumulative of events rather than just one
Yes.
big incident.
Yeah, it was a gradual process. It was building up, and then because I knew how other careers could feel like, because I did entrepreneurship, so I was comparing entrepreneurship and also medical life, and I knew medical life was not something that I would want to do for the rest of my life. It's not the kind of lifestyle that I would enjoy. Yeah.
All right. We have one questions from the attendees. They say, how did you know that at that time that it's not like just a phase, like how people used to tell us, you get through it, it's just a phase in your career?
Yeah, actually, I get this question a lot. There are two ways of answering this, actually. Like, how do you know whether it's just a phase, or when should I quit? How do I know when is the right time to quit? And I usually answer in two ways. The first way is the logical answer, the logical, reasonable answer. And this answer comes from the mind, the analytical, reasonable mind. The first thing to do is to not do anything at all. Don't rush into a decision. Don't make a decision out of impulse or from a place of reactivity. So whatever frustration, confusion, depression that you're feeling, just let it flow through your system. Just feel the feel, observe your emotion, and just acknowledge it. And then second is, you have to take time off. Take time off for inner reflection, self-reflection, deep inner work. And take time off. You can, take a few days off or take leave. And I understand it's very difficult, especially as doctors or as housemen, to take MC and such. But it's extremely crucial, especially when it comes to a big deal like deciding a career. Like, you need the time and the space to think things through, to do that inner reflection. Because when you're very busy at work, in a work culture that is pulling you in all sorts of directions, demanding your time, attention, and energy, sometimes it can be very hard to even listen to your own thoughts. So take the time off, do some inner reflection. And some of the questions that you can ask yourself is, for example, do I enjoy this job? Ask yourself honestly and truthfully, do I enjoy it? Can I see myself doing this for the next 30 to 40 years of my life? What is it that I'm actually passionate about? What is my deep interest? What am I really curious about? All the questions that I've just mentioned in this presentation, ask yourself all of these questions. These are what I call clarity questions. You have to be really clear about what is that you actually want out of your life. And then the next step is to immediately start taking action. While you're still working as a husband or as a doctor full-time, in the meantime, while you're still figuring out life, you have to start putting in the work. Maybe you want to start a business, a side hustle. So do it. Start that side hustle. Start gaining that side income. Maybe you're curious about a specific skill or a specific course. Start doing it. participate in the course, join that class, start gaining information about it. What's important is start taking action. Put work on top of your full-time work. Even though it's like too much to ask, but that's just the sacrifice or the trade-off that you need to do if you really wanna live a life that you really enjoy. And then find alternative career pathways. Like Medic Footprints is a very good platform for identifying alternative career options when it comes to medical related fields. Ask for their help, ask for guidance from people, do your own research. You have to be very proactive, because I think one of the problems is that I get from people who are texting me personally. They always tell me how they don't enjoy what they love. I mean, they don't enjoy housemanship. They want to quit, but they don't know what to do. They don't even know what they love, what they enjoy. They don't even know what they want. But one of the ways to find out is to be proactive, to take that initiative step. Yeah, because I think ever since we were kids, we were always being told about what to study, what course to take, what job to take, how much money to make. We've been told what to do, what to feel, how to think. So this is the time for you to do your own thinking, to start becoming aware about who you are and what it is that you desire out of your life. Not anyone else, but you. You have to give yourself permission to know your worth and to decide what kind of life do you want for yourself. Not a life that is not necessarily a life that is just to please other people, or that is expected of you, or that is socially acceptable. So once you figured all of that out, and then you can reconsider the question, should I quit? Should I resign from housemanship? And how can I move on from here? That is the first answer. That is the logical, reasonable answer. The second answer is from the heart. This answer is, usually I would say this answer is like, because when it comes to the heart, people always say it's very unreasonable or illogical. So sometimes when it comes to the heart, sometimes you just know, when you just know when is the right time for you to leave. Like you just know that it's time for you to move on. Because I really believe that we all have our own intuition. We all have that little whisper in us, that intuition or that gut instinct. But because we've been so bombarded with messages from the outside world, all these noises and distraction, it can be very hard to listen to that still voice within us. Because intuition is something that is biologically wired in us. Because back then when we were still living, during our hunter-gatherer ancestor time, we need that instinct as a survival mechanism to protect us from being eaten alive by predators. Even now in our modern time, that instinct is still there. So my recommendation is, as I said, take time off, do inner work, inner reflection, and meditate. Meditate, get into that place of stillness, calmness, and quiet, and listen to your heart, what it is saying in that little intuition, and make it an intention to figure out what it is that you truly desire out of your life. And then as you do this long enough, I can guarantee that you will find that answer. You will know what is the next step to do. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. It was a very long-winded one.
All right, but I think that does. All right, thank you, Dr. Crystal. So any last questions from the floor before we close the Q&A segment? So thank you everyone for taking your time to join us on a Saturday morning to attend this webinar. I hope this session was fruitful and helpful to each and every one of you. So before I end today's webinar, there are still a few announcements that I would like to make. Again, to reiterate, Medic Footprints Malaysia will be organizing the Malaysia's first ever diverse career summit for doctors on the 20th of August at IDCC Shah Alam. If you wish to find out more information, you can visit the link that I sent in the chat box and purchase ticket from there. And the early bird sales ends today. So if you haven't do it, you can grab your ticket on the website. So follow us on our social media page on our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn for more upcoming events. And to join our Medic Footprint tribe, you can visit our website to register to be a member for free. And you can also check out our Medic Footprints Malaysia Premium Members perk. So like all the previous recordings for our diverse career webinars will be up there as well for our premium members. Thank you for joining us. So please stay safe and take care. Goodbye. And thank you, doctors, for joining us for the talk.